We're in the Madhya Lila, chapter 23, Life's Ultimate Goal, and we're taking up at text number 94 as we left off before the break. Now hear how the mellows appear and how they are realized by devotees on different transcendental platforms. For those who are completely washed of all material contamination by pure devotional service, who are always satisfied and brightly enlightened in the heart, who are always attached to understanding the transcendental meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, who are always eager to associate with advanced devotees, whose happiness in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is their very life, who always discharge the confidential activities of love. For such advanced devotees who are by nature situated in bliss, the seed of love, rati, is expanded in the heart by previous and current reformatory processes. Thus the mixture of ecstatic ingredients becomes tasty, and being within the perception of the devotee reaches the highest platform of wonder and deep bliss. The exchange between Krishna and different devotees situated in different transcendental mellows is not to be experienced by non-devotees. Advanced devotees can understand and appreciate the different varieties of devotional service reciprocated with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotees cannot understand the transcendental mellows exchanged between the devotees and the Lord. In all respects, these are very difficult to understand. But one who has dedicated everything to the lotus feet of Krishna can taste the transcendental mellows. This brief description is an elaboration of the ultimate goal of life. Indeed, this is the fifth and ultimate goal, which is beyond the platform of liberation. It is called Krishna Prema Dhana, the treasure of love for Krishna. Previously, I empowered your brother Rupa Goswami to understand these mellows. I did this while instructing him at the Dashashvamedha Ghat in Prayag. O Sanatan, you should broadcast the revealed scriptures on devotional service and excavate the lost places of pilgrimage in the district of Mathura. Another direct order coming from the Lord, of which we can participate because Prabhupada gave us, bequeathed that service to us. Broadcast the revealed scriptures. Establish devotional service to Lord Krishna and Radharani in Vrindavan. You should also compile bhakti scriptures and preach the bhakti cult from Vrindavan. Sanatana Goswami was enjoined, 1, to broadcast the revealed scriptures on devotional service and establish the conclusions of devotional service. 2, to re-establish lost places of pilgrimage like Vrindavan and Radhakund. 3, to establish the Vrindavan method of temple worship and install deities in temples. Sri Sanatana Goswami established the Madan Mohan temple, and Rupa Goswami established the Govindaji temple. And 4, to enunciate the behavior of a Vaishnav, as Srila Sanatana Goswami did in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. In this way, Sanatana Goswami was empowered to establish the cult of Vaishnavism, as stated by Srinivasa Acharya in his Sad Goswami Ashtakam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. This Krishna consciousness movement continues the tradition of the 6 Goswamis. especially Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami. Serious students of this Krishna consciousness movement must understand their great responsibility to preach the cult of Vrindavan, devotional service to the Lord, all over the world. We now have a nice temple in Vrindavan, and serious students should take advantage of it. I'm very hopeful that some of our students can take up this responsibility and render the best service to humanity by educating people in Krishna consciousness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Sanatana Goswami about proper renunciation according to a particular situation, and the Lord forbade dry renunciation and speculative knowledge in all respects. This is the technique for understanding Shuksha Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. In the Bhagavad Gita 6:17 it is said, Yukta hara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya, yogo bhavati tukkaha. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. To broadcast the cult of Krishna consciousness, one has to learn the possibility of renunciation in terms of country, time, and candidate. A candidate for Krishna consciousness in the Western countries should be taught about the renunciation of material existence. But one would teach candidates from a country like India in a different way. The teacher, Acharya, has to consider time, candidate, and country. He must avoid the principle of niyamagraha. That is, he should not try to perform the impossible. What is possible in one country may not be possible in another. The Acharya's duty is to accept the essence of devotional service. There may be little change here and there as far as Yukta Vairagya, proper renunciation, is concerned. Dry renunciation is forbidden by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we have also learned this from our spiritual master, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj. The essence of devotional service must be taken into consideration and not the outward paraphernalia. Sanatana Goswami wrote his Vaishnava Smriti, Hari Bhakti Vilas, which was specifically meant for India. In those days, India was more or less following the principle of Smarta Vidhi. Srila Sanatana Goswami had to keep pace with this, and his Hari Bhakti Vilas was compiled with this in mind. According to Smarta Brahmanas, a person not born in a Brahmin family should not be elevated to the position of a Brahmin. Sanatana Goswami, however, says in the Hari Bhakti Vilas that anyone can be elevated to the position of a Brahmana by the process of initiation. Yata kanchanatam jati kamsyam rasa vidanata tata diksha vidanena dvichatam jayate nridam. As bell metal is turned into gold when mixed with mercury in an alchemical process, so one who is properly trained and initiated by a bona fide spiritual master immediately becomes a Brahmana. There is a difference between the Smarta process and the Goswami process. According to the Smarta process, one can be accepted as a Brahmana. One cannot be accepted as a Brahmana unless he is born in a Brahmana family. According to the Goswami process, the Hari Bhakti Vilas, and the Narada Pancharatra, anyone can be a Brahmin if he is properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master. This is also the verdict of Shukadev Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kiratas Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulakshas, Abhiras, Shumbas, Yavanas, and members of the Kasa race, and even others who are addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to His being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisance unto Him. A Vaishnava is immediately purified provided he follows the rules and regulations of his bona fide spiritual master. It is not necessary that the rules and regulations followed in India be exactly the same as those in Europe, America, and other Western countries. Simply imitating without effect is called niyamagraha. Not following the regulated principles but instead living extravagantly is also called niyamagraha. The word niyama means regulative principles, and agraha means eagerness. The word agraha means not to accept. We should not follow regulative principles without an effect, nor should we fail to accept the regulative principles. What is required is a special technique according to country, time, and candidate. What is required is a special technique according to country, time, and candidate. What is required is a special technique according to country, time, and candidate. Without the sanction of the spiritual master, we should not try to imitate. This principle is recommended here. Shuksha Vairagya Jnana Shab Nishedila. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's liberal demonstration of the bhakti cult. We should not introduce anything whimsically without the sanction of the bona fide spiritual master. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments on these points by quoting two verses by Sri Rupa Goswami Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchate Prapanchikataya Buddhya Hari Sambandhi Vasuna Mumukshabhi Parityagyo Vairagyam Palgukatyate. When one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. To preach the bhakti cult, one should seriously consider these verses. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, and who is always satisfied, forgiving, and self-controlled, and who is engaged in devotional service with determination. His mind and intelligence dedicated to me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. One should not be jealous of members of other castes or nations. It is not that only Indians or Brahmanas can become Vaishnavas. Anyone can become a Vaishnav. Therefore, one should recognize that the bhakti cult must be spread all over the world. That is real advaita. Moreover, the word maitra, friendly, indicates that one who is able to preach the bhakti cult all over the world should be equally friendly to everyone. These two and the following 6 verses were spoken by Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 12:13 through 20. Mark them. They're important. He by whom no one is put into difficulty or anxiety, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is liberated from jubilation, anger, fear, and anxiety is very dear to me. A devotee who is not dependent on others, but is dependent solely on me, who is clean inwardly and outwardly, who is expert, indifferent to material things, without cares and free from all pains, and who rejects all pious and impious activities, is very dear to me. The word anapeksha means that one should not be concerned with mundane people and should not depend upon them. One should depend solely on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and be free from material desires. One should also be clean within and without. To be outwardly clean, one should regularly bathe with soap and oil, and be inwardly clean. And to be inwardly clean, one should always be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. The words Sarvaramba Parityagi indicate that one should not be interested in the so-called smarta vidhi of pious and impious activities. One who is free from all material jubilation, hatred, lamentation, and desire, who renounces both materially auspicious and materially inauspicious things, and who is devoted to me is very dear to me. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from attachment to material things, and always grave and satisfied in all circumstances, who doesn't care for any residence, and who is always fixed in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. Where's Mathura Kripa? Oh, all the London devotees are not here. That's true, isn't it? I'm looking out the outside people's party. I see no saffron. And Kanagopal's hidden. He's Gupta. There's he raised his hand. Yeah, okay. Devotees who follow these imperishable religious principles of Krishna consciousness with great faith and devotion, fully accepting me as the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms and charity? Do the rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or, above all, does the unconquerable Supreme Personality of Godhead not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then should learned persons like devotees go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.5. In this verse, Shukadeva Goswami advises Maharaj Parikshit that a devotee should be independent in all circumstances. The body can be maintained with no problem if one follows the instructions given in this verse. To maintain the body, we require shelter, food, water, and clothing. And all of these necessities can be obtained without approaching puffed-up rich men. One can collect old garments that have been thrown away, and one can eat fruits offered by the trees. One can drink water from the rivers, and one can live within the caves of mountains. By nature's arrangements, shelter, clothing, and food are supplied to the devotee who is completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee does not need a puffed-up materialistic person to maintain him. In other words, devotional service can be discharged in any condition. This is the version of Srimad Bhagavatam 126. The supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service under the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. This verse explains that devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. Thereafter, Sanatana Goswami inquired from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about all the conclusive statements concerning devotional service, and the Lord very vividly explained all the confidential meanings of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the revealed scripture, Harivamsha, there is a description of Goloka Vrindavan, the planet where Lord Sri Krishna eternally resides. This information was given by King Indra when he surrendered to Krishna and offered prayers after Krishna had raised Govardhana hill. In the Vedic scripture, Harivamsha, there is the following description of Goloka Vrindavan. When the king of heaven, Indra, surrendered to Krishna after Krishna had raised Govardhana hill, Lord Indra stated that above the planetary systems wherein human beings reside is the sky where the birds fly. Above the sky is the sun and its orbit. This is the entrance to the heavenly planets. Above the heavenly planets are other planets up to Brahmaloka, where those advancing in spiritual knowledge reside. The planets up to Brahmaloka are part of the material world, Devi Dham. Because the material world is under the control of Devi, Durga, it is called Devi Dham. Above Devi Dham is a place where Lord Shiva and his wife Uma reside. Those brightened by spiritual knowledge and liberated from material contamination reside in that Shiva Loka. Beyond that planetary system is the spiritual world, where there are planets called Vaikuntha Lokas. Goloka Vrindavan is situated above all the Vaikuntha Lokas. Goloka Vrindavan is the kingdom of Srimati Radharani and the parents of Krishna, Maharaj Nanda and Mother Yashoda. In this way, there are various planetary systems, and they are all creations of the Supreme Lord, as stated in the Brahma Samhita. Below the planet named Goloka Vrindavan are the planets known as Devidam, Maheshdam, and Haridam. These are opulent in different ways. They are managed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, the original Lord. I offer my obeisances unto him. Thus Goloka Vrindavan Dham is situated above the Vaikuntha planets. The spiritual sky containing all the Vaikuntha planets is very small compared to Goloka Vrindavan Dham. The space occupied by Goloka Vrindavan Dham is called Mahakasha, or the greatest sky of all. Lord Indra said, "We asked Lord Brahma about your eternal planet, but we could not understand it." Those fruit of actors who have controlled their senses and mind with pious activities can be elevated to the heavenly planets. Pure devotees who are always engaged in Lord Narayan's service are promoted to the Vaikuntha Lokas. However, my Lord Krishna, your Goloka Vrindavan Dham is very difficult to attain. Yet both you and that supreme planetary system have descended here upon this earth. Unfortunately, I have disturbed you by my misdeeds, and that was due to my foolishness. I am therefore trying to satisfy you by my prayers. Sri Nilakanta confirms the existence of Goloka Vrindavan Dham by quoting Rig Samhita. We wish to go to your, Radha and Krishna's, beautiful houses, about which cows with large excellent horns are wandering, yet distinctly shining on this earth is that supreme abode of yours that showers joy on all, O Urugaya, Krishna, who is much praised. Illusory stories opposed to the conclusions of Krishna consciousness concern the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna's disappearance, the story that Krishna and Balaram arise from a black hair and a white hair of Shri Dakshay Vishnu, and the story about the kidnapping of the queens. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami the proper conclusions of these stories. Purport. Due to envy, many asuras describe Krishna to be like a black crow or an incarnation of a hare. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami how to counteract all these asuric explanations of Krishna. The word kaka means crow, and kesha means hair. The asuras describe Krishna as an incarnation of a crow, an incarnation of a shudra, a blackish tribe, and an incarnation of a hare, not knowing that the word kesha means ka isha, and that ka means Lord Brahma and isha means Lord. Thus the word kesha indicates that Krishna is the Lord of Lord Brahma. Some of Lord Krishna's pastimes are mentioned in the Mahabharata as Maushala Lila. These include the stories of the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna's appearance, his being pierced by a hunter's arrow, the story of Krishna's being an incarnation of a piece of hair, Kesha avatar, as well as Mahishi, Harana, the kidnapping of Krishna's queens. Actually, these are not factual but are related for the bewilderment of the asuras, who want to prove that Krishna is an ordinary human being. They are false in the sense that these pastimes are not eternal, nor are they transcendental or spiritual. There are many people who are by nature averse to the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Such people are called asuras. They have mistaken ideas about Krishna. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the asuras are given a chance to forget Krishna more and more, birth after birth. Thus they make their appearance in a family of asuras and continue this process, being kept in bewilderment about Krishna. Asuras in the dress of sannyasis even explain the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in different ways according to their own imaginations. Thus they continue to remain asuras birth after birth. As far as the Kesha avatar, incarnation of a hare, is concerned, it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.726. The Vishnu Purana also states as follows. Similarly, it is stated in the Mahabharata. Thus, in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vishnu Purana and the Mahabharata therefore are references to Krishna and Balaram being incarnations of a black hare and a white hare respectively. It is stated that Lord Vishnu snatched two hairs, one white and one black, from his head. These two hairs entered the wombs of Rohini and Devaki, members of the Yadu dynasty. Balaram was born from Rohini and Krishna was born from Devaki. Thus Balaram appeared from the first hair and Krishna appeared from the second hair. It was also foretold that all the asuras who are enemies of the demigods would be cut down by Lord Vishnu by his white and black plenary expansions, and that the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear and perform wonderful activities. In this connection, one should see the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, the chapter called Krishnamrita. Srila Rupa Goswami has refuted this argument about the hair incarnation, and his refutation is supported by Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentaries. This matter is further discussed in the Krishna Sandarbha and in commentary known as Sarva Samvadani by Srila Jiva Goswami. Sanatana Goswami then humbly accepted his position as lower than a piece of straw, and symbolically holding some straw in his mouth, he fell down, clasped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and submitted the following petition. Sanatana Goswami said, "My dear Lord, I am a very low-born person. Indeed, I am a servant to low-born people. Therefore, I am very, very downtrodden. Nonetheless, you have taught me conclusions unknown even to Lord Brahma. The conclusions that you have told me are the ocean of the ambrosia of truth. My mind is unable to approach even a drop of that ocean. If you want to make a lame man like me dance, kindly bestow your transcendental blessings by placing your lotus feet on my head. Now will you please tell me, let whatever I have instructed all be fully manifested unto you. By blessing me in this way, you will give me strength to describe all this." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then placed his hand on Sanatana Goswami's head and blessed him, saying, "Let all these instructions be manifested in you. E shab spuruka tomare." Thus I have briefly described a discussion of the ultimate goal of life, love of Godhead. The mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot be described expansively. Whoever hears these instructions given to Sanatana Goswami by the Lord comes very soon to realize love of Godhead, Krishna. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, 23rd chapter, describing love of Godhead. Bravo. Bravissimo. Bhalo. Bhalo. Danya, Danya. Sadhu, sadhu. I will take a few reflections or questions. Yes, Gopal.
There was mention of following in the footsteps. So I had a question. Where does one draw the line between following in the footsteps and imitating, or sahajya?
Well, probably gives the example in the story of Dhruva Maharaj, when he points out that Dhruva Maharaj did something that was above what any other human being could do, which was to end up living just on taking exhalation every once in a while, an inhalation, and then holding his breath and so forth. And then Prabhupada goes on to say that there are ways in which we already have a system of devotional service that follows in the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj by performing the activities that we perform. Similarly, in the Payovrata vow, which was a way of purification, there are all these details of how one must wake up, when you can bathe, when you don't bathe, only drinking milk, and so forth. It's a long list of vows in order for purification. 8th canto. And then Prabhupada comments in there, he said, members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are already following these things. They're already doing these. It's built into the program. He said if you just follow the program we're already doing, then you've fulfilled all these specific vows. So we have to do what we can according to our adhikari. Sve sve adhikari yanishta saguna parikirtita viparyos dosha syad. There's a way that Krishna says, if you can do a certain amount, like Prabhupada judged from experience that devotees in the West couldn't chant 64 rounds, what to speak of the the East or anywhere else. And then engaged everyone in service, and then he says in the Nectar of Instruction that this is an adjustment based on the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he said that we're hopeful that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta will accept that adjustment, because it's what the devotees can do practically. And all you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough. That's the title of a book. 1, 2.
Hare Krishna, thank you. What is the criteria for receiving personal instructions from the spiritual master? We can see that the Goswamis receive personal instructions, and there are general instructions which are there for everybody. So I've been asked this many times, how can I get a personal instruction from a spiritual master? And I try to say it's all personal. And what is the qualification to be given a specific task like the Goswamis were?
Well, first of all, it's helpful if you do all the basics, and then also try to follow the general instructions, because then specific instructions may be needed. It's kind of like when you take music lessons. If you take the general instruction, which is to practice at least half an hour a day, seriously, then the teacher will notice that this person is making advancement. Then there'll be need for more specific instructions about what the person can do. If you don't even do that, it's like I did it once, not every day, but just maybe once. Then what's the music teacher going to say? It's like, well, just try to get to that point. But when people are following very strictly the basic things, and also in trying to do some service in an enlivened way, that's usually when there's need for a personal instruction, or that the person's noticed. I told the story before. One of my godbrothers had come over to India during the time that Prabhupada then invited, let the Americans come here, and we'll start the movement in India. And quite a few devotees came. Well, some devotees came. There were some already here who were evading the draft. And my godbrother told me that Prabhupada was available. He was giving darshan. He was going regularly. He even had a little service in the morning, putting sandalwood paste on Prabhupada's forehead. He said, but Prabhupada's interaction with him was perfunctory. There wasn't any specific thing, or much notice either. He said, but then he went on a traveling party to South India with these other devotees, and they were down in Coimbatore and got in a public debate with some pundit down there, and they defeated him by quoting from the Sri Upanishad. And it got in the paper, and Prabhupada saw the paper. He said when he came home, Prabhupada was talking to him all the time. And so he had this realization of his relationship with Prabhupada, which was, you go do something. Prabhupada gave this example. He gives it in one of his books. Oh, no, it's in a letter, he says, because it was about Chicago when we were piling in that airport. We're having wars with the police. Devotees were getting beat up and stuff like that. And Prabhupada said, just like during wartime, an innocent farm boy from the countryside who's insignificant joins the military, and then he's sent to the front lines, and then somehow he performs a heroic act, and he comes home as a national hero. He said he never would have been anything, and so he said in the same way, all of you, you're performing some heroic service, and therefore you're being recognized by Krishna. He even said that by following the general rules, that's no small thing, because he told the devotees when they went to Surat, when they first went to Gujarat, and people were coming out to see the Harinam party. There was all these Westerners chanting Hare Krishna very enthusiastically. There's videos of it. And they were making divots in the road where the locals, they were trying to smear the dust where the devotees had walked all over their bodies. And Prabhupada said, it is because you're following the four regulative principles and following this order to chant Hare Krishna that they're worshiping you. And he said, you'll find this anywhere you go in the world, because you're following four regular principles and chanting Hare Krishna, that you'll be worshipable. So general leads to those who do the needful and use their spiritual acumen or intelligence to do something that is noticeable, generally get an individual instruction. Oh, wait a minute. Kaivalya Balava was next, but you have a comment, so it's a footnote on this.
I'm also just thinking that just being perceptive of small things which could come up. Like I'm just thinking of Brigupati Prabhu, who didn't really have a lot of personal association with Prabhupada, but Prabhupada gave one class and he just asked the question, can you say something about the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? And Prabhupada sat up and said, it has already been said, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. So go on performing Sankirtan, your life will be successful. And he took that as a personal instruction, even though it was very little interaction. He took it seriously. So maybe it won't be like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in the bank of Radhakund saying, if you ever get money, print books, but it could be a small interaction which could seem insignificant, but if the disciple is perceptive, they could integrate it into their heart.
Yeah, like you were coming to this program and then you noticed that there was a need to help manage, and then you ended up as the leader of the organizing party to make sure this yajna takes place. And now it's a full-time service. And by the way, you're hired. Yay!
You kind of answered the question I'm about to ask you because of Prabhu's question, but if you have some more points, you could also discuss them. My question is, all the stages that are mentioned, for example, in Sadhana Bhakti, you have Vaidhi Bhakti and Rupanika Bhakti, and then you have Bhava and then Prema stage. Is it important for a devotee to know where he is at so that he could, in what qualities does he have to improve on so that he could just keep advancing to the next stage? I think you did already mention the spiritual master would give person instructions once the foundational instructions are being followed, and the person through the services he or she is making advancement, and so you would give personal instructions which are kind of in a way how for the advancement of that person. So my question is more about is it important for a person to know which stage he or she at so that they could know how to actually taste these mellows, because ultimately we're reading all these things. It shouldn't be like a fairy tale, and we can never reach those things because those are very advanced. Just wanted to know if you could shed light on that.
Well, we should know what the symptoms are for the various levels, and we should be honest with ourselves about where we are. And also, wherever we are, the goal is the same, to go on to the next level and to continue the process of devotional service. Being aware that we're in anartha nivritti or at some other level is good. We should have some awareness of what our level is. Our endeavor really isn't to enjoy the mellows, but it's to become more oriented towards serving Krishna and to be more attentive to our practices. And whatever comes from that, we can take as Krishna's special impetus. It's not a mechanical process. When Narada was a child and he had received training in the mercy of great sages, sadhus, he went out on his own, and then in a forest he sat down and had an experience that was beyond his level. And when he experienced it and then came back into his normal context, he realized that he had lost the experience, and he tried to get it back mechanically. And then Krishna spoke to him and said, "You're not there yet. Just gave you a sample. Just be patient. You have to wait." So our main concern should be to be obedient servants and remain patient and follow the process. But these give us an awareness of what symptoms we can see. That's why they're there, to understand the symptoms. So, for instance, anartha-nivritti. Before we come to nishta, there are 6 obstacles. One is sleep. If you're hearing and chanting and you feel sleepy immediately, it's not really that you're tired. It's just that your brain is so used to rajas that you would rather not hear about transcendental subject matters. Proof, if someone told you during the time when you were dozing that you just won the lottery, you'd wake right up again and say, "Well, how much is it? Are we talking like $27, or are we talking 27 million here?" And then it becomes a point of interest. And then there's distraction, which means that if we're doing our chanting or any kind of hearing, chanting, bhajan, and then we're easily distracted, we're still in an anartha-vritti. And then there comes this really weird phenomena, which is there's no distraction, we're not sleepy, but we just don't care. Meh. It's like, ew. I just like... And then there's innate, or they're not innate, but they've become innate qualities that we've picked up from who knows where, what part of the universe we've been from, and they just bubble up from the depths of our subconscious mind, and they disturb us. That's also an obstacle. It's also a symptom of anartha-nivritti. And then there's certain qualities like kam, krodh, lobh, mada, moha, matsarya. They're there embedded in our senses. Krishna talks about it in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The rajas and kama, our enemies, have taken strategic places within our very senses. And those are 5 obstacles, the removal of which means that we're in nishta, steadiness. Nishta means, in English, the word stand is cognate with shta in Sanskrit. It means tada rajas tamo bhava kama lubhadayasche cheta itera navidam stitam sattve prasidati. You're situated above all of these obstacles, and you notice they're gone. So it could be a revelation where you're sitting and chanting and you go like, I like this. I'm not tired at all. And you're hearing Bhagavatam and you go like, give me more. Don't stop. Please continue. And we should notice those. And you can't fake it. If you're interested, you'll probably be surprised. You think, how am I staying awake? How is it even possible? And when that becomes a regular thing, and that what you're waiting for is the next opportunity to hear and chant, and you're not interested in sleeping except in a regulated way, so you can get up and do it again, then there's the the awakening of this nishta bhakti, steadiness. So we should know that. We should know the different symptoms and what it means. We can read about what it feels like to have this ruchi. That it's like something we're really attracted to. And then asakti, which is really rare. It means you're exclusively interested in Krishna. And in order to get your attention away from that, you really have to try hard. Rather than, like, you have to try hard to get your attention on Krishna. Asakti means that you're so attached, you really don't care about anything else. So those are, yes, important to be able to be introspective, to be self-observant, and to understand what level we're at.
Just very, very quick point. Is it okay based on because I feel it's probably not the right way, because if those symptoms exist, is it okay to just focus on inculcating those symptoms, and as a result of which we could eventually be, for example, those 9 symptoms, right? One of which is, he doesn't waste time or something like that. Yeah. And so is it okay to just focus on inculcating those symptoms mechanically, I guess, but is it okay to have that mindset of just, apart from your daily sadhana, because these are the symptoms and I want to really advance, can I just focus on improving that, like those, inculcating those symptoms, I mean?
Yeah, it's not mechanical, but you should be aware of them. What is it? Shantir avyarta kalatvam. That's the third one. Shantir avyarta kalatvam. Then, what is it? Virakti mana shunyata.
Ashabandha samutkanta.
Ashabandha. So, those are, they manifest out of Krishna's mercy. But we should try to be regulated and careful in the way that we conduct ourselves. Shantir, the first thing, described by Parikshit Maharaj, the example is Parikshit Maharaj, that he was cursed to die. And then he said, no problem, just keep the vibration going. You can try to imitate that. And somebody says, oh, by the way, you're going to live for one more week. And it's not something to imitate. We have to actually grow into that sense of complete dependence on Krishna and so forth. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay, so now we've finished our reading for the day. I'm happy to report that we not only met and surpassed, but smashed our reading goal for the day. And now we have an opportunity to worship Lord Damodar, because it's the month of Damodar, and we can have a ceremonial moving of the chairs, and then everyone is welcome to gather here in this room for an offering, a group offering of the lamp. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Radhe Shyam. If you so desire, please, as Sanatana Goswami requested of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, impress upon our hearts all the lessons we've read today so that they're always there available, then we can follow them. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with these prayers in whole or in part. Please say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Vanchakalpadrivishya kripasindabheva chapatitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nanta Koti Vaishnaviki Jai. So we have 2 more days to finish the Madhya Lila. So appropriate kind of activity to perform in light of the fact that we're in Kartik. It's becoming part of our very life, and that we'll feel when we finish that we wish we'd like to start over again and do it. And of course, we have some limitations as we have other duties to do, other places to go that call to us. But this is a mighty stand that we're taking here. And somehow we've built up to this level where we can all be together and perform this, and it'll stand as a spiritual pillar in our hearts, knowing that we're good for it, that we like this, and that we'd like to continue it. And we can incrementally increase the way we hear and chant. We could also implement it wherever we go, so that we always have a group to be with to increase the hearing and chanting. This has been the best year ever, based on the quality of the hearing of all of you, because there's more of us than usual. Usually it tapers off at the end, and we end up with a scant crew, but it hasn't diminished at all. In fact, it's somehow increased. What's more, every time I look into the screen or into the room I'm in, I notice that everyone's got rapt attention. And now we also have members of other generations who come here with the intention to hear. Madhav's been coming for years, doesn't fall asleep. And so we can see that by the vibration things expand, and if we stay in the vibration, then we'll be blessed. Just as the benedictions that Kaviraj Goswami has given, these will come true in our lives from the power of spoken words by the pure Vaishnavas. So this is the greatest of events that we could possibly participate in, and I'm grateful to everybody here for your enthusiasm to hear. And we pray to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we can bring the same spirit and manifest your vision of a world in which people are saturated by Krishna Katha and engaged in the Sankirtan movement. Thank you for... We'll start up tomorrow again at 8 o'clock, and it's a nail biter because we're inching towards the goal, and hopefully if we can squeeze in every last minute, we can make the finish line and finish the Madhya Lila.